This week's energy is asking us, can you embrace the extremes without losing your personal rhythm? Energy of the week, according to Human Design, Gate 15 transit. Welcome to my video of the weekly gate transits. My name is Brenna. I'm a human design reader and mentor of 9.5 years, teaching you how to break down each of the aspects of human design in your personal body graph to help you understand it a lot more clearly. This week's transit we're going through is Gate 15, which is a very late degree Gemini placement, very early degree Cancer placement, 0 to 3 degrees of Cancer to be specific. So if you have these placements in your specific natal chart in Western astrology, tropical astrology, any normal astrology app that you go to, you're going to notice these energies are a little bit more amplified in your specific energy for this week. Now, we're going to start off by going through an overview of exactly what Gate 15 means when we are going through the transit, but when we also have it in our human design body graph. And then I'm going to break down each of the days of the week so that you know what to experience ahead for the next 6 days. Without further ado, let's get into it. So what's so interesting about this placement is we're really going to be looking at the people who operate from a place of love versus people who just frankly operate from a place of hatred and really disliking people who are completely different from them and their belief system. I've already had a sprinkling of noticing this in the atmosphere in my YouTube lives. I'm live on YouTube every Monday, starting at about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Wednesdays at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I've been noticing it in the energies of this week, and it's getting more and more amplified. And so Gate 15 is known as the gate of extremes. So it's this oscillation of energy. What we really want to use it for in its exalted placement is being like the epitome of love and loving everybody for their unique differences, for their extremes, loving yourself, whether you are like going hard, on going towards your goals for one day, and then you take a complete day to just bed rot and rest all day long. It's loving every parts of yourself and knowing that when you fully lean into your energetic extremes, your energetic rhythms, and you allow yourself to pivot, that's what we really want to use this placement for this week. It's not really taking like full stock and things having to be perfect. Although we do have Mars in Virgo this week, so they will be a little bit of this kind of like friction between those two placements, really pushing you to feel like you have to get it perfect, when what makes it perfect is really leaning in and listening to whatever makes you feel good as an individual. I'll be talking about that a lot for my energy of the day, the human design way tips that I've been doing in shorts and on my Instagram and TikTok pages, because it's going to be so important as it comes up this week. Now, big themes of this gate placement are equality and fairness, which we are seeing all over the global world stage. We're really noticing where there's a lack of equality, where people needed to be treated with more fairness. But I want you guys to know that this is a long-term game that we are in right now. This is not something that we're just going to be dealing with for a month and we get out and we do things really loudly and proudly and then it's going to be over, right? That is what's convenient for the masses to think, I will say, right? If you are, in this for the long haul, you want to make good, sustainable changes for what you know is going to make you feel good and how you can be a ripple effect of change in your corner of the world by just focusing on blooming where you're planted and really making your foundation, your community, your home environment really strong and stable. Because you can't pour out from an overflow. You can't share an overflow of love if you are pouring out from a deficit, because that's what makes us cranky and angry. And we're noticing where people are experiencing lots of lack of love right now during this transit. We're going to be noticing it for a while for other reasons, but exceptionally true when we do have the gate of extremes at play. What's really important to notice about these placements, because again, it's a late degree Gemini, early degree Cancer, so an opposition or what sits opposite the zodiac from these placements are Sagittarius and Capricorn. All four of those, two mutables, two cardinals, all four of those placements really share this energy of not wanting to be controlled. And this is exactly what Gate 15 is teaching us. So knowing, even when you think that you're fighting for elements of freedom in your life, were you actually playing into somebody else's system of control? And just watching out for those energies. Like, where are you listening to the wrong people? How do you want to start to listen to yourself and know that you are your own best internal guidance system? You know you best at the end of the day. So get to know yourself and be home in yourself. And that's really how you're going to bloom where you're planted. There's going to be no shortage of people that are really needing help this week. Just make sure that they are not trying to drag you down with them, and you help set the tone for the standards that you have for them to rise above to meet them, right? This is a great quote that I've always said since high school, and it's high standards, low expectations. We have high standards for ourselves ourselves, we carry ourselves in a good, organized way, but we have low expectations for people being able to meet them. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst just in case, and paying attention to how we allow people to treat us, how we are making sure that we are putting our own oxygen mask on first. It's a really big theme of this year because we want to be able to go far with this energy, go far with all of the things that we're building, especially if you're watching these videos from a business building perspective. Really important to pay attention to that because you're building a foundation that you want to be able to stand on long term, not just something that's going to temporarily get you what you need and then you're going to repeat this cycle over and over again moving forward. So let's get into the specific transits for each of the day, and then if you have gate 15 in any of the 6 profile lines in your human design body graph, these same elements are going to apply to your specific chart as well. On the first day of this transit, or if you have gate 15 in the first line, this is known as the line of duty, and it's pretty simple, where with this placement we notice an exaltation or a good benefits of this day where we want to lean more towards is really connecting with the right people to help us get things done, where we're creating a lot of harmony. Now, if you've been saying yes and connecting with a lot of people that aren't exactly aligned with you, this is where you're going to notice some scritchiness and maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable and are outgrowing the people that are around you. So there's nothing wrong with that. You just want to make sure that if you are leaning towards the detrimented aspect of this placement and hermiting yourself or specifically alienating from other people or the outside world, you do try to make an effort to find good, sustainable community and really just set like the tone for maybe writing a value exercise today. What are the things that you value? What do you value in terms of what you find acceptable reciprocity in your relationships in both a business sense, a personal sense, a romantic sense? Just taking stock of that and paying attention to what makes you feel good and who makes you feel good at the end of the day. This is a day we're also going to feel more inclined to fight for what we believe in, to stand up for our beliefs, to make the content, to do the thing anyway. It's a really good day that's supported for that. So just pay attention to really focusing on staying in your own lane today and what's going to make you feel good. If a lot of people need your help, which again, that's going to be that pressure, you need to figure out how to set the tone, give yourself that self-care day, set the tone for the day, and then look forward for the rest of the week for how you can actually help people in a much more aligned way. So on the second day of this transit is line 2, or gate 15 in the second line is the line of influence. And with this energy, it's really allowing yourself to just embrace whatever is natural to you, embrace your extremes, and that's how you're going to influence other people. For me, for example, right, I am not concerned about what every other human design reader or mentor is doing. I focus on creating my content first from a place that feels most natural to me. I don't look at what other people are doing to create the content that I'm going to create. I really tune into myself and I say, what am I channeling? What do I feel like is aligned for my people? And that's how I've grown my business over the last 9.5 years. And I'd say it's going pretty well, right? Up until this point, if I've made it this far into the human design experiment and what I do for a living, right? So in its detrimented aspect, it's really leaning into, I have to do something extreme and prove my worth to other people. And that's how I'm going to be influential. I'm going to force them to see me no matter what by copying what everybody else is doing and really seeing how other people have influence and dulling my own influence in terms of its natural state. That's why like imitation is the highest form of flattery is such a phrase, because we're really paying attention to other people who are mimicking us or copying us, but then they don't have the longevity to really see it through. That's not, I always say, like with human design, it's the right idea, but the wrong execution a lot of the time. So you can see another way that somebody sparkles and shines, know that you're meant to sparkle and shine the same way, but maybe it's not through the exact same methodology. 9 times out of 10, 90, I would say 100% of the time, if I'm being honest, that's not the case, because at the core, human design is a science of differentiation where we are celebrating everybody's different, unique blueprints, body graphs, their unique energy, the unique skills that they bring to the table. And it really is true. When you really focus on what is most natural for me to express and what feels most exciting, how do I feel satisfied or successful or peaceful or happy, right? What does that look like for me? So on the third day of this transit, or when we have gate 15 in the third line, this is known as self-inflation or ego inflation. Now, in its exalted placement, or the good benefits of the day, is really allowing yourself to pour into you, to grow your energy, to everything is you pushed out, really influence people in your network, to create your net worth, where we're focusing on really being ourselves. It's piggybacking off of the energy of the day prior, where we're really focusing on, well, how I know that I am me, I have my extremes, I'm a night owl, so I'm up, I work long hours, maybe I work short hours, maybe I stream from bed, right? If we're just talking about this in a content creation example, These extremes are what work for me, and they are what get my people engaged. They're what I use to get people to pay attention to me. It's really helpful for me to follow along in those lines. And so this is a good use of this placement, right? We don't want to let anything get to our head too much, but when you know that you're onto something and you have that momentum, you really want to keep going today, and you really want to follow your rhythms and extremes. Now, when it's detrimented aspect, it's more so of this, in quotes, "I told you so" energy, and we're really paying attention to how we're saying to people, well, I told you that if you did that, it was going to be wrong. Or I told you that I was right when I went about it this way. Or I told you that my extreme is the only good way for my extremes to have actual influence or power. And if you just followed my lead, this is what would have been really good and it would have been better for you if you leaned into this energy. So just watching out for that. I mean, you can think the "I told you so's," that's like more and more prone to that today, because we all have our judgments, we all have our beliefs for a reason. That's part of what makes up our extremes. But no one likes unsolicited advice. No one likes to have people point fingers at them and yell at them and comment them in a negative way. We definitely don't like that. So it's just paying attention to that, walking away from people that are just committed to misunderstanding you, and paying attention to how you can really still pour into yourself and build this momentum of mastering the pivot of this week. Now, on the fourth day of this transit, or gate 15 in the fourth line, we are noticing modesty here. And this is where we're really paying attention to when we are out of flow or out of our kind of extreme ways of doing things. Extreme is so relative towards like how somebody else lives their life. We're really noticing how we need to get back in the rhythm. This is just a good kind of personal litmus test to decide, am I going in the right direction this week, or do I need to really come back home, be modest with my energy, and focus on my own lane? It's kind of this helpful wallflower energy, as it's called in human design, and we're paying attention to where do we just kind of need to scale it back to observe, paying attention to who we are in relation to other people, and not being so hyper focused on doing things just because it gets attention. Not all press is good press during this week. We left that behind with Mars in Leo and any of our Leo energies, right? I don't think there's any placements in Leo right now. I'll do a little post or something here just to check off the top of my head. I have to look at the ephemeris, but I don't believe there's anything that's happening in Leo at this moment, now that Mars is in Virgo. So we're really paying attention to how we're not doing things just for the sake of recognition, and because that just creates more like uncomfortableness, animosity. We really want to turn, and especially during this age of Aquarius, of really paying attention to what makes us feel good. Like, not all press, again, is good press. Getting attention just for the sake of attention isn't really going to do much. Not that that means that you have to be a wallflower, but it just means that, like, how do I kind of pull the arrow back to really launch myself forward in a way that makes a lot more sense for me and my energy? So on the fifth day of this transit, or gate 15 in the fifth line, this is known as the day of extremes, specifically when we are sensitive to the extremes. And this is where, when we really notice the things around us are wonky, are crazy, we've had to pivot almost every day this week, multiple times throughout the day, we're really noticing that we are sensitive to these pivots, and we're feeling a little bit more confident as we're in the fifth day of this energy. We're progressing and moving forward in an aligned way. Now, if we're not using it too correctly, or if we're paying attention to the deficits of this, we're looking at overcompensation. So when I notice I need to pivot, or there's a lot of extreme things happening, how do I dig my heels in and stay really stubborn and fixed and not willing to budge or move at all or make any changes? And that's when you see the person that looks like, they've been studying in the library for 24 hours and they're exhausted and they have circles or bags under their eyes.
Used to be sick. I'm wearing Valentino, for crying out loud.
And their hair's a mess, right? They look like they haven't showered in days. Like, that kind of energy. We're like, okay, yeah, you've stuck to the plan, but like, clearly it's not working anymore. So how are you learning to master the reality of what's happening on this plane in real time? That's what we want to look for, to make sure that we're not overcompensating, but again, leaning into the pivot and feeling more confident about pivoting. So another great day to kind of check in with yourself and say, am I really looking at reality and noticing what has to be done here and being open to change? Knowing that one of the only things that is consistent in life besides death and taxes is change in and of itself. That's the only thing that we know that we can do, right? We can only control so much in our corner of the world. So paying attention to living within that rhythm is very important. Now, on the last day of this transit, this is known as the line of self-defense. And this is when we're really getting into the nitty-gritty weeds of how we need to change things and make positive change for the better. Piggybacking off of what I said for the day before, we're really paying attention to who or what is the weakest link in this connection, so that we can come to a place of self-preservation. We make sure that we are taking out all of the weeds to make sure we're going in the right aligned direction. So let's say you've been making content for a while, or you've been doing a certain business offering, I'll say. Maybe you do readings of some capacity, because I have a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs that watch this video. and nobody's booking. Instead of paying attention to nobody's booking and this is where you guys are the problem and this is where this isn't working, really take a step back and say, well, why aren't people booking right now? What's a way that I can pivot my business that makes a lot more sense? Is it offering a flash sale or a discount, or is it pivoting to doing things in a different place in a different way, and really answering the call of the pivot that you've known that you've had to make for a while, and really paying attention to that. The deficit or the detriment of this placement is to just be like, oh, everything's fine. Everything's going to work out. I'm ignoring that this is happening because it's always worked up until this point. I'm not listening to the warning signs. He has red flags all over him.
That's a red flag, okay?
I'm not going to acknowledge that. I'm going to make sure that they're green. If I put on these glasses, it changes the flags to green. Suddenly they're no longer red. This is where we really want to pay attention to, especially my heavy Libra placement people, especially my Libra moons, where that is getting in your own way, because we have so much Aries that is opposing Libra energy right now. It's just a great highlighted example of where we're feeling that tension. So really paying attention to that this week. It'll be a great way to really alchemize all of the extremes. As always, if you have any questions about what to do with the energy, if you want a tip based on your rising sign for the week ahead or your energy type in human design, you can always comment that in the comments below. I wish you the best of luck navigating each of the gates of extremes here. And if you'd like to, you can follow along on my Instagram or my TikTok for Energy the Day the Human Design Way, so you get an extra bonus tip or 2 or 3 when you watch those videos, as I post them every single day in the early morning or afternoon hours. So I will see you guys next week for the transit update of the week ahead, and I will talk to you very soon. Thank you so much for being here.